Hi guys, how you all doing? Hope all of you doing well and all of you are safe with your families at home. Well, my name is Ashish Masih and of course you're watching me here on Autoportal. This is the all new Ford Figo. Well, it's not completely all new, but there's a new gearbox on this car. It's an automatic version, it's a torque converter gearbox, and the gearbox has been borrowed from the much more expensive and much bigger Ford Ecosport. You get a 1.2 petrol which makes about 95 bhp, but the good point is that it's a torque converter gearbox. It's not an AMT, so in terms of technology it's a leg up on its main rival, the Swift, as well as the Hyundai Neos. But how is it to drive, how is it to sit in, how is the ride comfort, and how is the gearbox and the engine combination? We'll find all those things out today, and also we'll try and answer the question that is the new automatic gearbox enough to really juice up the sales of the Figo, and should you take a look at this car once again. So let's get started with this video. Let's jump in the driver's seat, drive this car around, and after that we'll show you the interiors as well as the other bits of this car. As you might be aware by now, is the online expert in terms of spare parts. If you want a spare part for your vehicle, they have it in their list. They have the most extensive spare parts catalog, right from the most affordable small car to the top of the line luxury car, you name the car, and they have the spare parts for it. And the best point is that they have the spare parts from a host of different component makers and different price segments for the same spare part. So if you want to buy a cheaper part from a different maker or a more expensive part from a different component maker, they have the option for you. So what you'll immediately appreciate about the Ford Figo Automatic is the fact that you get a torque converter gearbox on this car, not an AMT, unlike its other rivals. And the big benefit of that is that unlike AMT gearboxes, which always are those jhatkas where you lurch around like this and this and this, this one is much smoother, it's much nicer, and it's much more linear in the way it shifts both up as well as down. So those jhatkas are something which will not be experiencing inside the Figo Automatic. What you'll also like is the exceptional ride comfort. Yes, the ride comfort in this car is very nice. In fact, it doesn't feel like you're driving a small car. It doesn't feel like you're driving a hatchback. It feels as if you're driving in a mid-sized saloon or a mid-sized sedan, and it really is very good. Ford engineers have done a very good job in terms of the overall ride comfort, be it slow city speeds or be it fast highway speeds. This car again is much better than both its main rivals. Where it's also ahead of both those cars is in the overall feedback from the steering wheel. Now this steering wheel does exactly what you tell it to do. It feels like an obedient child in school who's always listening to the teacher, who's the favorite of the teacher and is a class monitor. And it really is very communicative, very crisp, and as I said, the input that you give it, the car moves exactly that much, neither too much extra and neither even 1 millimeter less. So it's a brilliant steering wheel. In fact, I would think that this car can easily be termed the BMW of a poor man, because just like BMW cars, with the preciseness of the steering wheel is something which is exemplary, even the precise steering on this car is truly very good. Now talking about the engine is a 1.2 petrol. It's about 95 bhp of power, which makes it more powerful than the Swift as well as the Neos. In terms of refinement, it is quite good, and relatively speaking with both those cars, it is a nice engine. But for sheer responsiveness, it just can't take on the K-series engine of the Swift. The Swift really is in a league of its own when it comes to sheer responsiveness as well as overall refinement. This engine just feels half a notch or maybe sub-notch below in terms of the ultimate responsiveness. It's nice and decent in its own right, but yes, the Swift still is the benchmark in this segment. And not only in this segment, it is one of the nicest engines that you have on any petrol engine car out there. Now talking about this engine in particular, it is quite good. The mid-range and the top end is very good. The bottom end seems to be a little weak, so sometimes you just have to rev the car up to get it going. But because of this fantastic 6-speed automatic gearbox, the engine's flexibility is greatly enhanced, especially when you're on the highway. Now if you're doing speeds of, let's say, about 80 or 90 kph on the highway, the engine is spinning at a very lazy 1800, 1700 RPM, which relatively speaking is lazy, because the red line is all the way up to 6,500 RPM. And the cabin remains very well isolated from everything else out there. There's no tire noise, there's no wind whistle, there's no engine noise coming into the cabin. So it really is a very nice car for traveling with your entire family on those highway trips. And what's also nice about this car is the fact that on those highway trips, this car will feel very rock solid, because as I just said, the stability of this car is truly fantastic, and it is a delight to take out on those highway trips. If you are someone who goes all the way up to the hills on a regular basis, again, you'll enjoy this car, because body lean and body roll is always under control. In fact, it's non-existent when it comes to the Figo. And if you are someone who buys this car just for the sheer thrill of driving, the joy of driving, then this is a car which will have you beaming from ear to ear, because it really is just a phenomenal package overall in the driving department. In the driving department alone, I'll give the Ford Figo Automatic a strong score of 90 out of 100. It really is a nice package. It's great in terms of the handling, it's great in terms of the engine responsiveness, it's very nice in terms of the gearbox, and in fact, I will stretch out my neck and say that this is the best automatic available out there on any hatchback. Yes, I did say it. If you are in the market for a petrol hatchback, you want to drive, you enjoy driving, then there's no better option than the Figo Automatic out there in terms of the pure driving pleasure. Well, so inside the cabin now of the Ford Figo, the updated Figo with the new automatic gearbox. Now, compared to the Swift, the seat comfort in isolation is quite good, but when you compare it with the Swift, it's just half a notch behind the Swift. The Swift definitely has better padding, better cushioning. These seats are decent in isolation, but they don't have those side bolsters, and they also don't have that same kind of width which supports your lower back. And also, yes, the Swift has the advantage over there, where this car also feels a little outdated and behind is in the overall design and the dashboard. And even the features list isn't as rich as it is on the Swift. You don't get wireless charging for your mobile phone, you don't get cruise control, and you also miss out on that multi-information display which the Swift has to offer. The touchscreen also, even though it's a nice one, is slightly behind the Swift, because you don't get that same Ford Sync 3 app which you used to get early on this car, and it really was the standout feature on this car. The stereo quality though, the sound quality is truly brilliant and better than the Swift's, and that's one area where this car is ahead. One more area where this car is ahead, or two more areas, well, let me just make you hear it, is this. Really solid, really reassuring. It's a sense of safety, sense of reassurance that this sound gives you, and the materials also are very good. Everything is bolted on very well. And this car also gets 6 airbags, and you also get traction control as part of the safety kit. So active and passive safety, this one is ahead. So who is the battle of the front seats? It's a very difficult choice to make in terms of the overall feel-good cabin, in terms of the ambience, in terms of the safety kit seat comfort overall. The Swift definitely advantage, but when it comes to safety, this one has the edge. So I think it's a tie between both these cars. Who is the battle of the back seat? I will not jump in them today, but I will tell you, if you believe me, that the Swift has the advantage in the back seat, because the Swift offers you more space, more padding, and definitely the more superior seats in the back end. And this automatic version definitely has exemplified Ford's commitment to India, their technological prowess, of course, as well as their engineering prowess. And it just goes to show you the amount of work that they have achieved with this car. It's the best automatic car in this segment in terms of pure technology as well as the overall drivability. And really, I think that the Figo should be on your shortlist if you're in the market from a premium hatchback.